I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office, and I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate. I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office, and I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am Mia Mason. I'm a congressional candidate for Maryland District 1. We will be starting here with our host soon with our coalition, No Dem Left Behind.
I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office, and I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate. I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative.
Okay.
So the problem is make as much noise as possible. As citizens, we've seen protests. We need to be flooding the phone lines of our representatives. We need to be all over social media, ensuring that the Postal Service, which employs, I think, about 750,000 Americans, of which a majority of them are veterans, we need to protect this service to our country and those who have stood up to provide us that service over the years.
That was a solid answer. Nice job. So I've got for Alan. Hi, Alan. Do I have Alan, right? Yeah, okay, there you are. So this one I have is, what are some of the key issues impacting your congressional district? For those who don't know, you want to tell us what your district is?
Yes, my name is Alan Nelson, running for the United States House of Representatives to represent Florida's 17th Congressional District. My district is the largest congressional district in the state of Florida. It covers 9 counties, and there are a lot of issues that are affecting people. Prior to COVID-19, each county had a different themed issue, but now that we're here in the midst of a pandemic, the COVID-19 issue has taken a great deal of people by storm. So I would say that the number one and number 2, number 3 issues are jobs in the economy and healthcare. Right now, people are out of work. They don't know what's going on with the government and how, if their funds are going to come in for assistance. Doctors are on the front lines, and they're literally risking their lives, and the medical community is risking their lives. And people who end up becoming patients, there's a great deal of uncertainty as to whether or not they will survive this. And so this COVID-19 pandemic has really reshaped the issues in terms of importance for the Congressional District of 17 and probably the other districts as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. I can't imagine how anyone would have something else on their minds right now. It's just affecting every single person in a different way. Cindy. Hi, Cindy. We have a question saying, what can Democrats do to help those with either a physical or learning disability? In my experiences, I've noticed that people treat people with disabilities differently, and during job interviews, employers tend to be biased. What can the Dems do to ensure that we have true equality, equity, and equal representation to ensure we're not discriminated against?
Yeah, that's a really big issue. I can tell you it's an issue that's affected my family personally when my children's father lost his sight all of a sudden, and he lost his job quite unfairly, but they just found a workaround, and he's very fortunate to have found a new organization that he can be a leader in and work to help people in our community. We're so proud of that, but it's something that people face all the time, and we do have protections, legal protections, but there seems to be a lot of workarounds that organizations can find. And I think that what Democrats can do is, first of all, raise awareness around this. And I know that this is a big issue actually in Alan's campaign. He's done a lot of work in this area, raising awareness around disability rights. And we can talk about it, and we can also make sure that we are prioritizing people and not profits and businesses when it comes to disability rights and discrimination. Cutting those loopholes out and making sure that people are protected and not pushed out of their job when they have a sudden disability or they have a disability that they came into that workforce with. And I think that's what we really need to do to make sure that we have everybody included in the workforce.
Great, Cindy, thank you. I've got the next one is for Devin, and it's Georgia's primary has already been postponed twice because of COVID-19. Do you support allowing all citizens to vote by mail?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. I was still on mute there for a little bit. Yes, absolutely. There are 5 states that are already doing entirely vote by mail. Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, Colorado, and Utah. So no one can say that it doesn't work. It's been working for them for years. Plus, I know Mia can attest to this as well. Being stationed overseas, we are allowed to vote by mail. It works. We've been doing it for decades. So the accusations of any accusations of fraud or that it wouldn't work are not correct, and it's just a tactic used to reduce voter participation. So we shouldn't have to stand in line and choose between, especially right now with coronavirus. We shouldn't have to. We are already, before coronavirus, we're standing in lines for hours to vote. Polling places were being shut down. People had to go to work. Voting day is not, election day is not a national holiday, and it should be. But you shouldn't have to stand in line.
No. I think we're cutting out a little bit. But thank you, Devin. Can other people hear me? Are we good still?
Yep.
Okay, great. So the next one I've got is for Mia. What are your plans for the general election as restrictions ease up? How is Maryland's Eastern Shore different than the 12 other counties? Any summer plans for Ocean City?
Well, I think that because the Eastern Shore is very rural, 9 of the 12 counties, which is half of the entire state, is very rural. So once the restrictions ease up, I'm super excited to get back out there in that wonderful summer weather, to be out there knocking on those doors, meeting our constituents and telling them how to vote by mail. This time, it's a wonderful opportunity, to make sure that they get out and vote. My spouse, Sarah, was like, well, let's go to Ocean City. And she wanted to do it this week. And I'm like, do you realize that we're still on lockdown? And I'm like, when can we actually go do that? So it's just one of those things that we're looking forward to do. We've seen the ads for Ocean City. They're playing it safe. They got their hotels open just for the housekeepers and for all the medical staff. So we're letting them keep their rooms for them because those people actually need it. And we'll wait till midsummer to actually have a little vacation.
Thank you. And we're going to, actually, I don't have a question here for Michael, but I'm going to make one up. Michael, why don't you tell me a little bit about your district and what are the important issues normally, but how has that changed because of COVID and how are you responding? You can make
Absolutely.
something of this.
Thank you. So I'm running in Arizona's 8th district, and in the district that I'm actually born and raised in. And so when you talk about elections being personal, I don't know that it gets any more personal than this. Everything that I am and everything that I will be is right here in this district. And it's a district that historically has been looked at as a conservative district. It's a district that in 2018 almost flipped in a special election. We were within 4%, and again close in the general election. And one of the that I've brought to this campaign versus previous campaigns and demographic of area is that I'm a small business owner. I am exactly like the millions of Americans around the country right now who have spent their entire lives pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, investing their own personal money into their hopes and dreams, never taking a handout, always digging in deeper, always figuring out a way to get things done without the help of anybody else. Nothing but grit. And yet here we are with our businesses closed. My businesses have been closed for more than a month. I've received no government assistance from the PPP program. I'm watching as hundreds of billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, our money, off of our sweat equity, is being poured into multi-million dollar corporations, lobbies, donors, and our financial situation as workers and small business owners is destroyed. And even in today's local paper here, we have a state legislature which has been Republican majority for 56 years running, so 20 years longer than I've been alive, that is saying that those on unemployment are being paid too much. To look at ways to reduce the unemployment. This is a situation here in this district where healthcare has always been the top priority. We have no answers from the administration or from my opponent on what they're going to do to make our lives better on healthcare. They've stuck to the gun saying the other plan doesn't work. Well, guess what? Americans don't have time to wait a decade for a plan, and we don't have time to wait a decade to argue over what's good and what's not good. We need to improve it. And then you look at the jobs in the economy out here, which my district is home to more union workers than any other district in the state. It's blue collar, proud American workers who are all in despair because elected officials dropped the ball on their responsibility to not only be effective, to be proactive instead of being reactive, which led to lack of efficiency and effectiveness to handle this situation.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, hey, Katie.
Yeah,
I wanted to point out also that Alan, Devin, and I are also small business owners too, and we were having a little chat about this earlier because both Devin and I are sole proprietors, and we were kind of saying, hey, we sometimes don't necessarily feel like we can deserve to call ourselves small business owners. And I had read earlier today, and I tweeted about it on my account at SWFLMom2020. You can see there's been a lot of discussion around this, that actually 80% of small businesses are sole proprietors. And 90% of African American owned small businesses are sole proprietorships. And so we are fighting for this recognition, even sometimes within ourselves. And so it's really hard when we see this money that's supposed to help our businesses, and like Alan's got a salon too, he employs other people, helping when it's supposed to go to help us, our business, and our community, and instead it goes to big lobby groups, restaurant chains that have a direct tie to President Trump. It's completely awful. I didn't even have the opportunity to get there to fill out the application because there's been such a concierge service to those big businesses that are 100% not small businesses, and definitely not the way that the American people think of small businesses.
My sister.
1 in 10 Arizona small businesses received any funding in the first round of PPP, and today with the release of the new $310 billion package, we've already seen reports from the major news organizations saying that funding is already tapped out. So
It's going to be. I mean, it's going to be
a bad situation across the country.
And we've seen over and over again they prioritize the huge corporations as opposed to individuals. That's why we need you all to win.
Absolutely.
So I want to get a question to Alan. I think we have one for you. Where did it go? Sorry, I'm doing it off my phone and computer at the same time. This is a good one. So I'm interested, I don't know who came up with this question, but it says, we live in times where unprecedented collaboration has now become necessary to pull this country back together. How can congressional members help congressional candidates? So, Alan, this question was listed for you, but you want to give it a shot?
Sure. I think that, what we're doing now by having someone who has been there and people that are there currently to team up with people that are trying to go to Congress like us to talk about these issues in front of people that are voters that are going to be voting for us. I think this is a very good way to collaborate And I think it's important because oftentimes great candidates don't always have the resources or the reach to get their messages out. So when you collaborate with members of Congress who have a following, who have the reach and the capacity to bring these great candidates' messages to the forefront, it really helps us to be able to educate the voters as to who we are, what our platforms are about, and really how our issues and their issues align with one another. So this is a great way to do this. We actually have a couple of other town hall meetings with other representatives that are interested in helping us to get our message out. And it goes to this whole new age of campaigning, because we can't go face to face to people anymore. So this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, this is an adjustment for everybody. You guys are the first round of new first-time candidates who are trying to figure it out, right? Devin, I got one for you. President Trump said he would veto the next stimulus package if it included funding for the Postal Service. What's your reaction? I mean, well, actually, you didn't answer that one earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. It would be disastrous, especially for rural America. The bigger delivery companies like FedEx and UPS, they already refuse to deliver in many rural areas. It's just not profitable for them. So unfortunately, the Constitution provides, that it is up to Congress to provide funding for the National Postal Service, not the president. So it is not his decision to make. I'm no constitutional lawyer, but I'm pretty certain of that fact. And so I'm sure that if he tries, that there will be court challenges.
Mia, you're a woman veteran, and the question is what you can do for, I guess, specifically women veterans who are disabled or who are experiencing homelessness.
Well, I've been down that road before. I was a homeless veteran. During my time in the National Guard, I was kind of homeless, and as a woman, I had to rely on others within our LGBT community to try to take care of me. And to return the favor, it's also about making sure that they're aware of the resources that they have to make sure that these services don't get cut, making sure that they get fully funded. Because those hotlines and everything else, when you actually answer them, they put you in touch with exactly who you need to for the problem you have. And we're slowly seeing that dwindle away from our veterans. We have a current representative in office who votes against our veterans, votes against our women, votes against their health care and their OBGYN care. And that's just something we can't stand for, especially if they're disabled or if they're having a need to be homeless. The VA in Cecil has a wonderful little community to take care of the homeless. Same with the services here in Baltimore. They put you as a priority and give you exactly what you need to get you back on track. And we're looking to keep that there and keep that funding growing so that it can go down the entire Eastern Shore, because our district's so gerrymandered, they've cut funding out for the Eastern Shore.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for sharing your experience and for your service.
Thank you.
Cindy, I haven't asked you a direct question, but this one came in, and it's the question that I think almost every mom gets. But how are you handling being a mom running for Congress? And any thoughts just kind of from your experiences on the trail so far?
Yeah, this is my wow. I put mom on Front Street for sure, so I get this question a lot. But I will tell you, it's like the question that you don't ever want to get, honestly, because you want to be treated the same as everybody else. I want everybody to recognize that I'm a mom, and I'm here fighting for my kids, and that I can do it all. I can run my business, I can, be a university instructor, and I can be a congressional candidate because I'm really qualified. But people are always asking me, like, where's your kids? What's going on? Okay, this is what we did. We got tots, got hot dogs, and they're out there watching the movie because I got Disney Plus. That's how I'm handling my kids right now, because I'm also a single mom. All right, this is what the reality is. We're on lockdown too, so I got we're all here. I'm also IT support for elementary school students, but this is what we need to do. And this is what we need to do. Moms get it done. that's the end of the story. I bring my kids everywhere. I'm kind of historic for bringing my kids everywhere. I had my baby in January when I was teaching at the university. I didn't tell my department chair that I was pregnant because I was afraid I was going to get fired. And I showed up to the beginning of the semester. My students' eyes popped out of their head. And I said, don't worry, we're going to get through this. I had the baby on a Thursday, canceled class that day, told my students, don't worry, we'll be back next week. And lo and behold, I was back next week. Because moms, part-time faculty, we don't have family leave, we don't have maternity leave. I run my own business, no maternity leave there. So it was really sink or swim for myself and my family. And so I showed up, baby in a sling, nursing, got a cover, flip-flop, back and forth, taught the class, teaching global studies, helping students understand what's going on in our world. And they really need to understand that women should have a seat at the table, especially when they're moms. And we can do it. And we can absolutely handle these things and not take a back seat. And I've been told I should take a back seat. I've been told I should wait until my kids are older. But this is the time that we need leadership now. And I think that I'm the right person to do it. And you know what? My kids are on the campaign trail with me. Well, they're watching Disney Plus. Either way, we're good.
Good for you. Hopefully you can draw some inspiration from Katie Porter too, because she's the
Absolutely, I love her. And you too. I'm a big
I'm not a single mom, but yeah. Okay,
Katie, I'm going to jump in for a second because we have a couple of questions for you specifically as well.
Okay.
That's all right with you.
Yeah.
So a lot of folks are asking if you are seeking a return to Congress or if that's in the works, if that's in your plan.
Not right now. Nope, not anytime.
Okay.
Not in the plan. Nope.
Got it. And this is from our...
I'm wearing my Rams shirt for the draft, so I can do that now.
Yeah, I got the draft going on tonight.
And a question actually from our executive director, Hassan. He wants to know, when you were running for Congress, you also hated doing call time.
Mm-hmm. Everyone does, yep.
Yes. So that's a universal thing, right?
So is the question like, how do you get past that, or is it just like affirmation that I also did hate it?
A little bit of both, I think.
Yeah, no, I think everyone needs to, you have to learn to, you do just figure out though that unfortunately there's no way to compete in this environment without the resources, and that's why we're pushing for, and we need to really prioritize 100% above anything else, HR1 and getting public financing options for campaigns, because you don't get real people elected. You can't get regular people on the same playing field as people who are self-financed or who have had these connections and these political ends for so long, unless you have something like a match fund. And HR1, which we took a vote on in as soon as we got sworn in, basically would provide a 5-to-1 matching fund for people like you all who who can't necessarily raise the kinds of resources that it's going to take to defeat a Republican incumbent on your own. And I think that if we get a Democratic House, Senate, and a president in November, we need to be mobilizing like crazy to make sure that HR1 is the first thing that gets passed, so that our politics and our campaigns are not all about money.
Absolutely. And then I have one more question for you, which is, with all of the fake news, so to speak, that's going around and everything, what do you think the best way to choose our battles and to combat the negativity is?
To choose our okay, so choosing our battles in terms of what we fight about?
Right.
I mean, listen, I think as a candidate, and you all, I know this, I have experienced this, is that you get, the noise is coming constantly, right? If you step into public service at all, or the public light at all, you're opened up to every bit of possible criticism. I honestly don't think that fighting is worth it in an atmosphere that's like what we have. I think that right now our focus shouldn't be on trying to convince anybody, trying to change minds, as much as it should be on making sure that every single person who is able to vote can do so, who is allowed to vote is able to do so. Because the reality is that when people are enfranchised, then Democrats win over and over and over again. And I don't even see the point in engaging with people who are so far afoul right now from human decency and from normal operations. Like, you watch these press conferences, and I don't even think I'm living in reality anymore. So if you're still on that side, like, we don't have time for that. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be saying that if I were still in office, but that's how I feel right now. So.
All right, we're gonna have about 5 more minutes until we transition to our next 4 candidates. So if anybody has any questions for these candidates, get them in now so we can answer those right away.
Okay, who did I leave off with? I want to make sure that I've been fair to everybody. Well, I guess since we only have a few minutes, why don't you practice your closing off little 30-second spiel? About 30 seconds. Who wants to go first of finishing off what do you want for people on this webinar to know and do from here?
I'll knock it out. I'm Mia Mason. I'm a veteran, a friend, and an advocate. I'm here to simply represent you. It's about your voice, your story, and you need that amplification in DC so that when you see a bill that says no on it, it actually will represent you. But now, with removing Dr. No, you will see yes in the proper representation here in Maryland.
Great. And so your district is Maryland 1.
Correct.
And what's your website?
Say again? Oh, miadmason.us.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Michael, how about you?
Outstanding. My name is Michael Moscato. I'm running for United States Congress in Arizona's 8th Congressional District. As I touched on earlier, I'm born and raised here. So when we talk about as Americans wanting the proper representation, this district finally has its choice between someone who has grown up alongside of you. And the issues that we face are not Republican and Democratic issues. They're issues for all Americans. We all need better health care. We all need better education. We all need representation that covers the things that are most important to us as fathers, as husbands, as daughters, as wives, as sons and daughters, grandchildren. We only have one planet. We have one shot to get this right, and we've now seen the results of choosing the wrong choice. And the only way that we're going to fix that is by replacing the people in office. If you're in Arizona, if you're in Arizona's 8th district, my opponent has been our representative for a third of my entire life. So if you have something wrong with how you've been treated, if you want her for your life, then replace her with someone who's just like you.
Thank you so much. And where can people find you?
You can go to my website, www.moscato4congress.com. That's MUSCATO4congress.com.
How about you, Alan?
My name is Alan Ellison, running for the United States House of Representatives to represent Florida's 17th Congressional District. My campaign is simple. It's really about improving the quality of life for everyone, not just a special few or special interest groups. And so what that looks like is making sure that our individuals who are living with disabilities are protected. Back in 2016, we had members of Congress trying to reduce disability benefits by 20% at a time when people are already struggling. We need to make sure that we have a comprehensive immigration reform bill that looks out for people that are trying to come here looking for a better life. We need to make sure that Social Security is protected. Improving the quality of life means putting families back together. It is immoral to have families torn apart the way that our government is currently engaging in the way that they're handling families in America. We need to make sure that children are safe in schools and people are safe in their churches. We need to make sure that gun violence is brought to a minimum. There are so many issues that we can tackle to improve the quality of life. We need to make sure that small businesses, who are the backbone of our economy, are protected. We need to make sure that the scientists and medical professionals who are on the front lines of this COVID-19 are respected. And we need to make sure that a president understands that that they are to be respected. And I guess the only way to do that is to vote Donald Trump out of office this year and make sure that.
And where can we find you?
You can find me at ellisonforcongress.com, Facebook, Alan for Congress, and pretty much on every social media platform. And we can't without you, so we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. And how about you, Cindy?
One second.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
All right. right, there I am. Thank you. I was trying to mute myself. So hi, I'm Cindy Vanier, congressional candidate for Florida 19. I'm a mom and small business owner, and I'm fighting for our water, our health, and our community. And I know that it's a very challenging time in America right now, but more than ever, we need people who are willing to put the public good ahead of the private interest. And so I'm somebody who 100% believes in that, and not only that, I'm a fighter. A bona fide fighter. I used to be a professional boxer. I've taken a lot of hits, and there's not a person in Congress or in District 19 that can go toe-to-toe with me on issues or otherwise. So, you really want to get things done, if you want to feel safe and protected in your home, and you want somebody that's really ready to fight for the people, you send Mama to Congress.
Nice. You're gonna have to wait till you meet Sharice Davids. She's a MMA fighter, so.
I know. I was telling friends, I said, we can go toe to toe, but striking only. I don't grapple.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you.
You can reach me at Cindy for SouthwestFlorida.com, also at SWFLMom2020, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Cindy Lynn Banier, TikTok. Thanks, everybody.
And we're actually going to keep Devin on for the next round because you only got to answer a couple questions. So I'll go ahead and get the other candidates up and running now.
Great, thanks. Bye, guys.
Appreciate it.
I'm Mia Mason. I'm running for Congress here on Maryland's Eastern Shore. One of the biggest concerns and issues that we have is our traffic, our education, our health care, and our civil rights that are being taken away by our representative that is currently in office. And I seek to change that as an LGBT candidate.
Got into a little bit of acting in Atlanta and really enjoyed that. And then I became involved I became interested in politics on what was it, November 8th, 2016. And I've been very interested and involved ever since. And so my mission is to rid the House and the Senate of enablers of the president, and I can only do that if I'm in office. So that's why I'm running.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Natalie, where are you running, and what's your?
Hi, I am Natalie Klein, and I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives in West Virginia's 1st District. I'm a wife, a mother, a woman in STEM, and I'm focused on putting West Virginia first. I'm a strong advocate for education, small businesses, and one of the largest policy platforms that we're focused on is healthcare. In our district, we have seen 4 medical facilities close in the last 6 months alone. One of them was the only medical facility in all of Marion County. And it is time that we see clinics, rehabilitation centers, mental health facilities open instead of closed.
Thank you. Jamie, how about you? Where are you running, and what's your background?
Hi, so my name is Jamie Cheek, and I'm running in Utah's 1st Congressional District. It's a district that has never been represented by women, and I'm the only woman running for Congress in the entire state of Utah. So I take it really seriously, and I'm trying to win my primary. We actually have a convention vote on Saturday, and I get sick. We lock up the nomination, so we're calling our delegates. I got several endorsement from Mexico working on getting those. I am.
Remember that. Good luck.
It's a hustle. It's interesting in the world of COVID because it's like Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting.
Oh yeah.
One conference statement is running in circles. Kind of nice and smart paced, but every night. So by day, I work with the state of Utah with the Division of Workforce Services. I work with people with disabilities with the Office of Rehabilitation, and I have my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. So that's why I'm doing is that when I see terrible decisions made by the current administration, it affects the people I work with every single day. When we add working plans to Medicaid with those people, those resources come to my doors. When we reduce the amount of money for staff, those are people coming to my door asking for help with those resources. And so I'm tired of looking these people in the eye and saying, wish we could do better, because we can do better, and that's why I'm running, because Utah deserves better.
Nice. And Chris, how about you? Where are you running? What's your background?
I'm running in Tennessee's 1st Congressional District. It covers the vast majority of Tennessee's northeast corner. And to kind of keep it short for you guys, I'm running because this is home for me. This is a very personal, raw issue, and it's an area that hasn't been represented by a Democrat since 1881. So just to give you guys a little bit of context there,
That's a long time.
I'm facing a very steep uphill climb. But folks around here, including my own family, have been so conditioned for so long that Republican is the only way to vote that I think that we deserve a lot better, and it's going to be a long and already has been a painful road to get to where we are. And I think that we have to fight, especially in areas like my home, to make things better, because we deserve to get living wages for the work we do. We deserve to have a planet for our children and grandchildren to live on, and we deserve to have actual, real, solid education systems for folks to grow up in and be able to succeed long term.
Thank you. I'm going to just circle through questions for each of you and try to keep it as equitable as possible. So, Devin, this is a quick one for you. As a wounded veteran, and I didn't know that, so I'm sorry to hear that, and thank you for your sacrifice. How are you being received as running for Congress as a Democrat in a very red district?
Well, how I'm being received as a Democrat running in a very red district?
Being a veteran and a Democrat and running in a red district. So.
Yeah, so when it comes to Republicans, very well received. Democrats, very well received. It is not often that a Democrat does run in this district, although we did run in the last 2 races, in the last 2 cycles, thank goodness. And we do better every time. But I want to say it was 78% won by Doug Collins in 2018. So it's a steep uphill climb, and that's why we belong to this coalition, to the No Dem Left Behind coalition, because it is No Dem's goal to help Democrats running in deep red districts to overcome that hump. There are so many humps we have to overcome. First of all, like Chris just said, for lack of a better term, brainwashing, thinking that Republican is the only way, so much so that they see these things that the current administration is doing and they turn a blind eye. Second, we have to overcome the large gap in funds that are raised for these campaigns. We are not independently wealthy. We don't accept money from corporate PACs, which is 2 things that are total opposite from our GOP opponents. They do accept money from PACs. Most of them are independently wealthy. So it is going to take us fighting, Democrats backing us, and I understand not trying to change the minds of certain people of that base, but there are some out there that see what's going on and feel they don't have any other choice because they don't know that Democrats are good people.
Yeah.
And so we can show them that we are, and that we will not be working for the big corporations or for the top 1% of Americans who are extremely wealthy, that we won't allow corporations to make $11 billion in a year and pay zero in taxes, while we are paying up to our necks in taxes. And then something like this happens and we see our taxes being spent to help those corporations that did not pay any taxes. It hurts. It hurts. And so just believe that we are regular people like you trying to make a difference. And it doesn't matter, I'm running for District 9 in Georgia. It doesn't matter if you're not from Georgia, if you don't live in the district. It doesn't matter if you're not from Southwest Florida or from Ohio. When we make it to Congress, we will be championing progress for everyone, for the nation. So it is important that everyone across the country get behind us, support us. If you can, donate to us. Volunteer for our campaigns. Do everything that you possibly can to get the word out that we are running. We are good people, honest people, and all we want to do is just do a good job for everyone that has been so hurt by the terrible that has been done so far.
Thank you. Thanks, Devin. Natalie, question for you. In West Virginia, you were talking about how the hospitals have been, or the healthcare system has already been so impacted over the last several years. Can you talk about how that has, how that's been affected by COVID and what kind of a response you're seeing and what you think needs to happen in Congress, or what you would do based on your experiences?
So West Virginia has been suffering medical facility losses quite frequently. In the past 6 months, I've mentioned before that we'd already lost 4. One of them was the only hospital for an entire county. That particular hospital was just closed. They were had already scheduled their closing, and then when the coronavirus finally hit West Virginia, they decided to go ahead and close early so that they wouldn't have to treat any coronavirus patients. All of these facilities were owned by the same company that purchased them, stripped them from profits, and has been hiding behind corporate loopholes. There's not been much of a response from our current representatives other than that, that's terrible. There's no real answer here.
It makes your blood
West
burn.
Virginia is also at the epicenter of the opioid epidemic. So this is the last thing that our state and our district needs, is to see facilities closing when we already are not helping our people enough. So one of the policy proposals that we created from day one is called the Family Reinvestment Act. And its intent is to reestablish clinics, rehabilitation centers, and mental health facilities and food banks in our communities. But one of the caveats is that it also needs to do this in our public schools. We need to make sure that we have more school nurses, social workers, food banks within the public schools, and most importantly, mental health programs in our public schools to take care of these kids so that we can stop the cycle. And in West Virginia, we were one of the last states that was recognized as having positive cases of coronavirus. We also didn't have enough testing in the beginning either, so that goes hand in hand. We have not been hit nearly as hard, though, as other states like New York. So we have been fortunate that we have not had the amount of cases that larger areas have had, and a lot of our facilities have been able to handle this well. We have had quite a few different groups that are making masks, fabric masks, to give to our workers because we have not had enough of those. And then our campaign did create a non-political group to help create 3D printed supplies to help those who needed alternatives to the N95 mask and other accessories, to either help seamstresses who were making masks, the fabric masks, and to also make like the ear guards to provide relief from bruising from your masks and things like that.
Jamie, so the question that I got here, and you can decide if you want to answer it or not. I don't have, I'm not one who makes you answer these kinds of questions, but the real question that I have, or that was there first, is how has being in rural areas affected your campaign? I'm assuming that you have very wide geography to cover, and how, I guess what has changed now that everybody is in homes and nobody can really travel much?
Yeah, so this map behind me, we cover 10 counties. And so like the dark brown at the top, that's us. We're covering all of them. And so it's a large geographical space, and it's a rural, very red area. So honestly, we have the infrastructure to go out city to city, county to county. And when we collapsed down because of COVID, it only strengthened our ability to reach out to our voters and our delegates. And so we have the ability to make calls, send emails, contact those individuals.
You're not spending quite as much time in the car.
Yeah, so it takes my district, it takes like 4.5 hours to get there that day. So it's some of that.
Sorry to cut you off, but the question that was messaged was, who do you think that Biden should choose as his running mate? And who do you think Utah would get most excited about? But again, totally up to you if you want to answer that or not.
No, you're fine. So it is paying attention to Utah. It did go for Bernie Sanders, but I do appreciate that the Bernie has made an extra people woman. That seems to be a key shot at it. I know that Elizabeth Warren is getting thrown out there, but I also like the mantra Warren for Senate majority leader. So I'm okay with that too. I think there's a lot of strong movement that you can choose. I think Kamala Harris is a good choice. I also think that Stacey Abrams could be a very exciting addition to the ticket. So I think.
So you're
yeah. I think we need that at the top of the ticket for them as sisters.
So, Chris, thanks for your patience. This message says that someone heard that you were at a campaign event and ultimately like the KKK came or something like that. Like, I don't know what happened there, but is there a strong presence of white supremacists in your district, or do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that, but I would like to clarify, this wasn't actually a campaign event. This was, it was a Tri-Cities, or not a Tri-Cities, but a Northeast Tennessee Wear Red event in Sevierville in response to some folks in the Sevierville City Council who had expressed some very to put this, express some very misogynistic and racist and generally hateful views.
Okay.
And they did so in the middle of a meeting by talking about, some folks who were running for office and used some homophobic slurs and a couple of other things. But anyway, so a bunch of folks who were not happy about this rallied in Northeast Tennessee outside of the Sevier County Commission office. And before anybody even started to get there, the KKK and some other folks had shown up and gone into it and packed the courtroom effectively, so none of us could get in there. So we stood outside and held our rally and talked about inclusion and loving people and how we should really kind of, be better folks. And then about 30, 40
We're losing you again. I don't know what's happening with Chris. Well, maybe Chris will come back to you. I see that we.
That's Northeast Tennessee.
Okay, well we cut out some of it, but I think you were saying to sum up the story that that's Northeast Tennessee. Is that did I catch that right?
I think that's right. Thanks, Katie.
Okay, great. So there are, let's see, how much time do we have left? We have a few questions left. Is there something that you guys want to get across? Any questions that you have for me, or since we've only got like 8 minutes left, anything in particular that you want to raise to the audience? Have a discussion amongst yourselves. Sure, Devin.
Yes, absolutely. First, I'd like to say that universal health care is important. Universal health care that is not tied to employment is important. Just imagine how much easier life would be for hardworking Americans if they didn't have to pay astronomical health insurance premiums and copays. Imagine
Absolutely.
how be if you didn't have to worry about losing your health care just because your employer went out of business. No fault of your own. Just imagine that. And then also, I would like to say that I had some issues earlier with my connection, and rural broadband is so crucial. It is so necessary in today's global market, especially in rural America. Here in District 9, we have count them, one service provider, and they are unregulated. It is ridiculous. Many of our residents could be working from home right now, but they can't because they don't have reliable broadband. So that is something that needs to be looked at. It's definitely something
Same
that
here on the Eastern Shore.
when I make it to Congress. Second to last thing, I want to talk about.
Wait, I want to make sure that everyone else has a chance before we come back.
Okay, all right.
So let's Natalie, how about you?
Yeah, can I piggyback off of what Devin was just saying about broadband? There are a lot of areas in rural America that do not have broadband access, and we do need to start treating it as a utility. But when we think about what a utility is, it's something, relying on a network, and we need it for our economy, for our household. And the
For our
coronavirus
students.
has really highlighted the necessity of broadband. Most of the country follows the National Electrical Code, and they have regulations that require single-family dwellings to be connected to electrical power from local utilities. So I believe that our federal government should be championing the conversion of broadband as a utility by passing legislation that sets a timeline for implementation, determines how last-mile connections shall be made, ensuring that monopolies will not be formed
2025
and
to
negotiate reasonable
2028
prices.
completion.
But just as importantly, we must also consider the additional value that broadband brings to our public education, and the coronavirus has really highlighted this, so that we also need to be thinking about how we should be able to have public vouchers for students who need a voucher system to be able to receive their education when we need to be doing distance education.
Thank you. Jamie, how about you? What's your last word?
Well, first, thank you so much for taking your time to do this. I love that you're wearing a shirt. I was off this day. Tonight, so thank you.
Like, everyone's got to be wearing the shirts, right?
And my team love you. So they were so
Go Ravens.
So thank you. And really, the really point stuff, healthcare, like Devin and Natalie were talking about, we talk a lot about air pollution in our district. We have 2 of the top 20 air polluted cities in the country, and so we need to do something serious about it. So that's why I support policies like the Green New Deal to create, a jobs guarantee, but also create that environmental infrastructure so we can make real change on climate change. And then also, education is a huge piece. We spend the least amount per pupil here to be taught, and we need to do better. And we need to make education accessible and affordable, not only K-12, but also to those who belong to see four-year institutions and trade schools, because education is the only way that we pull ourselves out of poverty and kind of have those future opportunities. So there's my Utah is better than me.
Chris, how about you?
Let me try to unmute him real quick. Chris, can you try?
You had me muted. Anyway, I would like to first of all echo thank you very much, Katie. I followed the story back as everything was going on a little while back, and I'm so sorry about everything that happened.
Thank you.
We got a lot of it for sure. But
Thank you.
That's our problem in rural
I heard a lot
America.
of folks here this evening talk about how hospital closures, especially in rural areas, were a very serious issue, and Northeast Tennessee specifically leads the country in rural hospital closures, and healthcare is what got me into this in the first place. So watching that metric as I'm campaigning for something that's just so important to me personally has really been heartbreaking to deal with. And I think that we as Tennesseans and Americans deserve a lot better, and that's exactly what I want to bring home. And that's why I ask folks to sign up and join me at chrisroffercongress.com and help us make Tennessee and America a better place for everybody to live.
Thank you. Rachel, did you have any wrap up?
Yes. Hear me all right?
Yeah.
Oh, and now can everybody hear me all right? Perfect. I just want to say thank you, Katie, for hosting this town hall for us. I know we got a lot of questions, some on Twitter, some on Facebook, some directly here. And I'm sorry if we didn't get around to any of your questions, if you asked questions. But you can join us next week. Scott Morgan will be hosting our town hall, and we'll be sure to get around to the questions we didn't answer this time. In the meantime, you can always contact us at nodemleftbehind.com for our website or on Twitter at NDLB2020.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks again, Katie. Y'all take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, good evening, everybody. It is now just you and me, because that was a wonderful town hall of everybody within our coalition, speaking to former Representative Katie Hill. I know a lot of y'all are supporters of her. She has addressed the question about if she's going to be running again, and the answer is not at this time. So there seems to be some issues that need to be put at bay, but we are all human. So remember that we are not a perfect person, and we run to represent you no matter who we are. So give us some leeway. Make sure that you forgive us. You know, we are just like you, flesh and blood, and we're seeking to make change happen for you. It is about getting your health care down to a price that you can afford with Medicare for all. I'm a veteran. I have TRICARE for life. You know, it's considered Medicare, and I pay $600 a year. Not a month, not a pay period, no copays, all that wonderful stuff. So if you believe in Medicare for all, fixing our rural communities and the infrastructure, the health care, and the education that is so vitally needed in our rural areas and prevent them from closing here in the future, make sure that we get Representative Harris out of office, because we want to make sure that when he says no, he is going to go. So with Mia Mason, you're going to see yeses for what really matters, to make sure that your concerns are heard. Your voice, your story, that really matters. Because when you look at your Eastern Shore, it is about the land that you have, the legacy that you are giving it, and keeping those jobs and security in your neighborhoods, into your communities that are vital to you. And then going from there, we only ask for your vote. We ask you to come join us. We want you to be able to volunteer with us. And of course, this thing's like so huge now, but you know, it is there to make sure that you can support us. So go to miadmason.us. Tech. I'm not a tech, but things happen. We make sure things work. This was working earlier, but just forgive me. There you go. Almost there. Things get dragged around here. Gotta make it smaller. So we are a staff of volunteers, and we are volunteering our time because of this COVID, pandemic that's going on. We are seeing things like what's going on in China, where they're now experiencing a second wave. Could we have one in the summer? Could we have one in the fall? The doctors and the scientists are saying yes. So prepare for more digital stuff. Help us. Help us get the mail out. Help us vote by mail. Make a donation to us so that we can get every vote out there to matter. Okay? So that we can actually win this election 50-50 and eliminate Representative Harris. It may upset the Republicans who have the majority, but us as the Democrats, when we come together with everybody else in the general election, we prove that we win and we can stay strong here in Maryland District 1 and make Maryland completely all blue. And as Allison said, she was there to flip the first. She has formally withdrawn, and I thank her and I bless her heart for what she wrote, because now it's up to Jennifer and I. We've had her on the show before, but it is solely your decision on who is going forward in the primary. And I'm looking forward to actually serving you and representing you in the House of Representatives so that we can actually get everything that you want and you need changed so that your life and your job can actually succeed. That's the empowerment you need. That's the voice you need. That's the representation you need. So with that, you have a wonderful night, and we're looking forward to serving you from Washington, D.C. Bless you. Have a great night and safe weekend. Wear your mask and gloves. Be safe.
I'm Ian Mason. I'm running for Congress. Our voters are at the helm in 2020 because our education has failed us. Our infrastructure has failed us. With your driving force, we can fix that, especially in our healthcare, because your vote actually matters and you have the choice in 2020. I'm Ian Mason, and I approve this message.